Thank you and welcome to the show this morning. The topic this morning is AIDS in Africa, and we're fortunate to have with us to talk about the question of AIDS in Africa, Ms. CWyatt Morley. Ms. Morley is the Executive Director of the program WOMEN and AIDS. And of course, Ms. Morley, let me sort of correct that, because I think we thought about a show that we did not long ago, WOMEN and AIDS with you.
Right.
And of course, what we'd like to do this morning is to continue our discussion in reference to this disease,
yes,
but to sort of focus up on one of the real hot spots in terms of this disease, and that is the continent of Africa.
Absolutely.
But before we get into that, Ms. CWyatt Morley, let's have you to talk about your information about your background and some of the things that were important in terms of leading you to the establishment of an organization, WOMEN, dealing with that question, and then we'll have an opportunity to talk about AIDS in Africa.
Well, thank you for that introduction. I appreciate it, and I am very pleased to be back on your program. As you know, I am a person living with the disease. I was diagnosed in 1994, and when I was first diagnosed, there were limited resources available to me as an African-American female in the Metro Davidson County and surrounding areas. So out of the need for fellowship and out of the need to have programs that would address me as a mother, those issues, I created the organization Women on Maintaining Education and Nutrition, which gives you the acronym WOMEN, and we are known in the community by that acronym. We have several programs that we now establish. We have a program, for example, called the Full Plate Program, and on average, we disseminate approximately 2,500 pounds of food per month, goes out our doors to infected individuals in the Metro Davidson County area that are in great need. There is a tremendous need in the Nashville area for programs, for support, for services. We also have a housing program where we call Circle of Life, where we help people with the disease who have limited resources. As you know, the majority have so many limited resources. We help them with housing, we help them with electricity and utility bills, we help them with transportation, those types of things. We find nutrition to be an extremely important component for people living with the disease, trying to get them the proper nutrition and those things. Also keeping people connected with medications. We have a program called the MOMS program, which is an acronym for Medicine on the Move, which allows for our clients to have access, or anyone, you do not have to be HIV positive to be a part of that program, anyone that is on any forms of medication, which we link them with a direct pharmacy, and that pharmacy helps them to maneuver through medications, getting them to have them delivered right to their homes. So we have a lot of outstanding programs, but it was very difficult getting to where we are today. But I am very, very happy to report that we're growing. Our support is tremendous. We're very, very pleased with the support from the community, but we also need much, much help, because our clientele also is growing and getting larger and larger. Rates of infection within women in the state of Tennessee have disproportionately impacted our economy in the state of Tennessee. African American women have the highest rates of infection in the state of Tennessee. I just came from a retreat with the state, and along with myself and some other community-based organizations, put together the plan for the state of Tennessee for the next years to come, HIV prevention plan. And the epidemiology clearly stated that African American women hold the highest rates of infection.
And so it's a real problem here in the United States.
Yes,
and
it
it's
is.
probably in Tennessee
Yes.
as well.
Yes.
And now, compared to the information that you gave us the last time that you were here, do you think that the situation has become worse in the state of Tennessee since you were here? That was maybe a year or so ago. Has it become much worse? Is it better or what?
I believe it is progressively getting worse. Funding is not increasing. The dollars are not being put to use as need be. There are so many things, and the education is not made readily available. So oftentimes we believe that everyone, we take for granted that everyone knows about HIV, but everyone doesn't know. Our high school students are still being highly impacted, and rates of infection are extremely high in the age groups between 20 and 30. Well, when AIDS is that high for those rates, you have to think, when did they become HIV positive? And that is happening in high school and first years of freshman university and college. Those kids are not being impacted like they should. So in my opinion, rates of infection continue to rise, not only in HIV, but also with sexually transmitted diseases. Syphilis, gonorrhea, chlamydia, those rates of infection continue to rise. So yes, I would say that we're getting worse and not better.
Very good. And of course, let us take this first commercial break, after which we'll come back. We'll give you an opportunity to talk about AIDS in other aspects. And we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break. Thank you, and welcome back to the second segment of the show for today. We're talking to Ms. CWyatt Morley, and the issue is AIDS in Africa. Now, Ms. Wyatt Morley, before we had our break, we promised that we would give you an opportunity to talk about AIDS in Africa, and we still want to do that. But I think that some of the information that you gave us during this first segment is of such significance that I would like to sort of follow it up, and especially to deal with this as an issue on college campuses. You know, I think that Nashville has a number of colleges and universities and et cetera. What impact do you think that this disease is having upon collegiate students?
A tremendous impact. As a mother, I have children in college, and I have a senior in high school. As a mother, we definitely want our children to abstain from sex. But as you know, everything is sex-based. Everything is sells sex. And it is having a tremendous impact on our college campuses. A lot of our historic black universities locally are being devastated by HIV and sexually transmitted diseases. Countless young women have come into our office seeking support, either for an HIV test or the morning after pill or STD information, those kinds of things. We are making tremendous inroads into the college campuses, but the colleges could do more to assist us. They could call us and ask us to come. We spend a lot of time trying to pursue them, trying to get to the dorm rooms and trying to get those things. But if they would be more inclined to contact us and tell us where they need for us to put their information, we're more than willing. We have a youth peer educator whom, as I said, is in college, be more than willing to come on the college campuses and lead groups in talking about HIV. And you know, again, we don't want our children to have sex, but they are. And negotiating sex skills is a skill that needs to be taught. Condom use needs to be taught. Those types of things need to be taught to our young people. Yes, we want them to abstain. Absolutely. I'm sure everyone would agree that we want them to abstain. But if our children are having sex, they need to be taught how to protect themselves, because HIV is real. And I'm not saying that condoms are a cure for anything, because as a matter of fact, condoms are not a cure for a lot of sexually transmitted diseases that live outside of the body area that surrounds a condom. However, it is right now one of the only tools that we have, and our children need to learn about it.
Well, you know, if this is a real question on college campuses, it seems that not much is being said in terms of from the universities themselves in reference to that. What would you suggest that they do?
I think faculty needs to be more involved in the realistic things that are happening on college campuses. If there were clinics made available on some of the campuses where information could be housed, if they would have in-service programs in some of the social sciences or some of the psychology programs, there needs to be some sort of faculty level support and faculty level infiltration to allow for infected individuals to come in and speak, or support groups to be held, something so our children can become more informed and more educated about proper sex, no sex, and whatever kind of sex it is they have, we definitely want them to be safe. There's a lot of rape happening on college campuses. That is something that is happening a lot.
You think that's widespread on college campuses?
I believe it is. I believe it is. I know we get a lot of young women coming into the office.
You have a source of information that most of us, even those of us who are on college campuses and see most of these students day in and day out, we don't have this kind of information that you're given. But they come to your organization and they talk about these issues.
They do. Yes, they do. And we have a level of confidentiality that they feel comfortable. Breaching someone's confidentiality is absolutely something that is forbidden. I know all about breaching of confidentiality. As you know, my history, I've went through a series of tremendous losses because of breaches of confidentiality. So absolutely, the students that you all see on the college campuses every day, many of them are clients that come to us for many things, because there are many things in our building. So when people come into the building, they don't know if they're coming to see us, or we also have HIV negative individuals too. Our clients consist of community members, whether they're HIV positive or HIV negative. So we have a given level of confidentiality that allows for many students to come in and feel comfortable to participate in support group, to participate in programs that allow them a safe haven to be able to express themselves and really get to the nitty-gritty of the real world and real life and their real life issues.
You know, I think we've entitled this AIDS in Africa, and everything that you're saying is very, very important in reference to the impact that this disease is having on Tennessee and on the United States.
Yes.
But we also know that you've been to Africa.
Yes, I have.
And that, as you promised the last time that you were here, that you would give us some information relative to the impact that it is having in Africa. So let's give you the rest of this period and the rest of the third segment to talk about your experiences in Africa and how you became involved with the continent of Africa dealing with this disease.
Well, my heart has been pulled to the continent of Africa for quite some time, and through the support of the community, I was able to take my daughter and I and my pastor, Pastor George Eddie Banjo of Living Word International Church, and his wife. The four of us went to Africa. He is a Nigerian. So we went to Nigeria and we met with many of the leaders of Nigeria, many of the leaders in the church in Nigeria, and also many of the governmental leaders, several governmental leaders, the Secretary of State, all of those individuals. We also had a trip to Ghana. But we spent the majority of our time in Nigeria, and Nigeria is a country unlike any other country that I have been to in my life, and I've been to 7 different countries. But the need is so profound in Africa. They need so many things, and because of their behaviors, they still believe that it's all right for a man to have, in some tribes, that it's all right for a man to have more than one wife. And so there is a given one mode of transmission. They also, in several tribes, believe that women are objects and property and not an equal player or equal partner, as we so here in America believe. So there are many things that contribute, but the need is profound. And so while there, I established a women's outreach in Africa. So we actually have offices in Nigeria now.
Okay, and of course we're getting ready for the first commercial break here, after which we'll come back and we'll give you an opportunity to talk about some other experiences dealing with this issue in Africa. This is really sort of eye-opening to me in terms of you dealing with Nigeria, because we've had an opportunity to talk to other individuals who have been to Africa, and they've explained some of the problems in South Africa. And now you tell me that it's worse, probably worse in Nigeria and et cetera. It is really a problem. And of course, let us take this commercial break, and we'll be back with our audience following this final commercial break. Thank you, and welcome back to this final segment of the show for today. We talked to Ms. CWyatt Morley, and the issue is AIDS in Africa. And of course, Ms. Wyatt Morley, it's more than just AIDS in Africa. We've talked about AIDS in Tennessee and as a national issue. And I don't think that we could have enough time to really deal with the issue as you are describing the issue of AIDS in Africa. But let's continue to talk about the impact that it is having on the continent of Africa?
Well, I brought the pictures by for you to look at and share with.
And of course, these are some of the images from your trip to Africa.
Exactly. Now, what you're looking at now are pictures from a clinic that we visited, as obviously this woman is pregnant. They allowed us to go into the maternity ward. So we walked straight in off the street, straight into the maternity ward. And then the next pictures show, I'm sure that those are the babies. It was really interesting to be able to walk in. A lot of these women were in labor. This is a ward, a clinic, a very, very small clinic, of which I intend to continue to support. And I am asking for the community to send donations, care of us, so we can send those donations to that clinic. This clinic is in need of everything. They need everything. As I said, we walked in off the street, straight into a maternity ward. There was no sanitary anything. There was no sterilization of anything. These women were in labor, babies being born while we were there. This clinic is in great need. So as I said, and this clinic is in Nigeria, as I said, there is a profound need in Nigeria.
Very good. And of course, this is also one of a mother with, now all these children are infected. I mean, all of these women are infected. Is that?
Well, the woman that you're holding up now is one of the nurses holding one of the children that had just been born just that day. Some of these children are HIV positive and some of these children are HIV negative, which again leaves a note which ones are infected and which ones aren't. These are all God's children and they all need help. These women, there were no men in the ward at all. All you saw were women in labor. There were no men in the clinic.
No doctors or no orderlies?
There was one doctor who led us around and showed us the tremendous need, but there were no orderlies. She was a nurse, but she was not degreed. This clinic needs so much help. There wasn't enough linens. There weren't enough beds. There were women in labor that were sitting on benches. This clinic, it's a wonderful clinic. They try so hard with the small amount of things that they have. They just really, really need our support. We want to send them medicine. We want to send them money to be able to buy the things. We want to send them just sheets and bedding, the things that we take for granted here. Stethoscopes, they don't have those kinds of things. As I said, just the small things that we take for granted here, those people at that clinic really, really need it. Those women had nothing.
What has been the government's response to this? The Nigerian government, are they trying to do anything, or what, is just overwhelmed by it?
Well, partly they are overwhelmed, because we did meet with many government officials about what they're doing, because we went over there on a fact-finding mission, wanting to know what the need actually was, what the government was doing, and we found that the government were doing several things, but the government encourages women's involvement. They have asked us to please come back and be supportive, bring programs over, help this clinic, and help people. So they are very much in need and very, very receptive to receiving the help. But they have to make sure that they trust you. The Nigerians that we dealt with really have a trust issue. But since we went over on a fact-finding mission, not asking them for anything, but going over there asking them what we can do to help them, they were very receptive in receiving us. We made many friends, as I said. We have offices over there now that are employed by Nigerians. And so we're really, really encouraging people here in the state of Tennessee to get involved with women so we can further help those people, because the need is absolutely tremendous.
And now this is all over the continent of Africa. And now you also mentioned earlier that you had, I think you went to some Asian country, I think
Thailand.
Thailand.
Yes, yes, I have been to Thailand.
Now you are also involved there with this as a program, are you not?
Yes, I was involved there with the United Nations, HIV and AIDS in Thailand, and worked with them for approximately 6 to 8 weeks I was over there. The need there is great also. It's not as bad in Thailand as it is in Africa. Accessing medications in Africa is one of the tremendous serious issues that are happening over there.
Medication is a real issue?
Medication is a real issue, and accessing that medication is a real issue.
Well, now that seems to be something that we should be able to deal with. In other words, the world community, perhaps working through the United Nations, should be able to create some kind of situation so that medication can be made available. That is a real problem.
Yes, it is. It is a real problem. The pharmaceutical companies, some of them are trying to step forward, many are not, and also there is a level of corruption, and some of the medications are not getting to the designated areas by which they need to get to. So some of it is not being done on a grassroots level, and some of the medications are getting to chosen individuals, but these women and children, as you saw, are in great need, and they're not the chosen people, but they are, as I said, God's people.
Well, now, in the end, over the last 3 or 4 minutes that we have here, you've been working with this for many years now. What do you see as the ultimate outcome? It seems that each time you come, you tell us that things are probably getting worse. And what's the ultimate outcome of all of this?
I would say the ultimate outcome is education. There is no such thing as too much education. There is no such thing as too much HIV/AIDS support. We need money to bring the education. We need money to bring the message. We need money to bring the medications. We need government, the United States government needs to be more involved. Yes, they're sending billions of dollars you know, to Africa on medications, but there needs to be someone making sure that those medications are getting to the right place. There needs to be more grassroots involvement, but the ultimate thing is education. There's just not enough education.
And of course, what we're trying to do here in this country is to provide some kind of loan, some kind of package for aid to Africa. I think President Bush and Senator Frisk have worked together in reference to that. What about that aid package? Is that sufficient, or will that be sufficient to at least meet the need? And of course, we can't do it all by ourselves. Is that
exactly. And the United States should not be held accountable to do all of it by ourselves. I agree with that. But no, that package is not enough. It's just not enough. When in the United States, 1 in 60 African American women are infected, that's not enough in the United States. And if we think that those rates of infection are extremely high, then rates of infection on the continent of Africa are quadruple that. When some communities, the whole village, are infected and children are born with no means of taking care of themselves, we need more money, more support, and definitely more education.
And more education.
Absolutely.
Education. So we just can't do enough.
We cannot do enough.
And that's surprising. That's the surprising thing about it, is that if education seems to be the key, education is almost the most inexpensive thing that we can provide.
Absolutely.
And it's through education. As a matter of fact, we were once told by Dr. Poco that education is important because AIDS is a behavioral disease, and the only way that you can stop it is education. Yet and still, how should we approach this education thing then? I mean, what should we do? I mean, should we pour money into educational institutions, or what? How should we do that?
I think, in my opinion, it needs to be dealt with more on a grassroots level. There needs to be education infiltration. We need not take for granted that because I know something, you automatically know it. We need to start educating, especially here in the United States, our children at younger ages. We also need to begin to really put forth tremendous effort, not only to throw money at an issue, but also throw strong education and strong risk reduction education messages and materials in the United States as well as in Africa.
And so we can, you believe that in the end we can beat this disease?
Oh, absolutely.
We're going to have to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. As I said, I'm a person living with the disease, and I have been living with the disease for 11 years, and will continue you know, to move forward. You can live with this disease, but it takes a lifestyle change, it takes education, and it takes a dedication and a commitment.
Very good, and you've got that dedication and commitment.
Absolutely.
And let me thank you for coming by, and as we said before, each time that it certainly takes courage to do what you're doing, but to bring the kind of enthusiasm and the kind of passion to what you're doing, I think that's more than courage. And we want to simply commend you for that. And let us encourage our audience to tune in again next week for another informative edition of Comments. Thank you and good morning.